Long ago, in a land of imposing stone castles and deep, silent forests, there lived a nobleman of immense wealth, known only by a strange and unsettling name. They called him Bluebeard. His real name had long been forgotten, lost to time and whispers. Now, people only spoke of his beard an unnatural shade, dark as a starless night, but with a peculiar hint of blue that made it both striking and unforgettable. Bluebeard's castle was a marvel, a grand fortress with halls that shimmered with gold, towers that pierced the clouds, and more doors than one could count. Yet, despite his vast riches and magnificent home, a shadow of suspicion followed him. People whispered in hushed tones, their eyes wide with a mixture of fear and fascination. They whispered because Bluebeard had been married before, not just once, not twice, but many times over, and the strangest part, no one ever saw his wives again. They simply vanished, like morning mist burned away by the sun. One day, Bluebeard rode to a nearby village. His attire was impeccable, his manners polished, and he came bearing generous gifts. He spoke softly and politely, his presence a stark contrast to the dark rumors that swirled around him. Despite the chilling tales, his gentle demeanor began to win over the villagers. One young woman, however, saw something others missed. It wasn't his unnerving beard or his staggering wealth that caught her attention. It was his silence, a deep, hollow silence that seemed to swallow all the sound around him. So when Bluebeard, with his calm and measured voice, asked her to become his wife, a whirlwind of emotions spun within her. Fear was there, cold and sharp, but it was tangled with an undeniable thread of curiosity. What secrets did this man hold? What mysteries were locked away behind the stone walls of his castle? After much deliberation, weighing the risks against the allure of the unknown, she agreed. Life in the castle was as quiet as she had imagined, but too quiet. The silence was a heavy blanket that smothered every corner of the vast estate. One day, Bluebeard presented her with a large ring of keys, each one intricate and unique. They were the keys to every room in the castle, shimmering treasure rooms, libraries filled with ancient knowledge, grand music halls with silent instruments. "You may open every door," he said, his voice as calm as a still lake. He gestured to the keys. "All of this is yours to explore." Then he singled out one small ornate key, except for this one. "This key opens the small door at the very end of the long hall. You must never open it." His tone wasn't threatening, not in the way a king commands a soldier. It was a warning, spoken softly, which made it all the more chilling. "Promise me," he said, his blue-tinged beard seeming to darken in the dim light. She promised. For days, she reveled in her new freedom, wandering through the castle's wonders. She unlocked doors to rooms overflowing with jewels, silks, and art from distant lands. Yet her mind kept returning, again and again, to that one forbidden door. It was small and unassuming, made of dark, aged wood, and it always felt cold to the touch. The key itself felt heavier than all the others, as if it were weighed down by a terrible secret. Finally, the pull of the unknown became too strong. Curiosity, sharp and insistent, overcame her fear. Her hand trembled as she slid the heavy key into the lock. It turned with a quiet, ominous click. She pushed the door open. Inside, she found the truth that Bluebeard had so carefully buried. The room was not filled with gold or forgotten treasures. It was filled with a profound silence and an overwhelming sorrow. In that horrifying moment, she understood what had happened to the women who came before her. The key slipped from her trembling grasp, clattering onto the floor. She quickly snatched it up and locked the door again, but the truth once seen could not be unseen. A secret had been unleashed. When Bluebeard returned home from his travels, he knew immediately secrets, especially ones so dark, always leave traces. He looked at his wife, his gaze steady and knowing. "You opened the door," he said, his voice still soft, but now with an edge of ice. Fear, cold and absolute, rushed through her. But as it crested, something else rose with it, something fierce and unexpected: courage. She asked for a few moments to go to her chambers and pray. Thinking it a plea for her soul, Bluebeard agreed, but she did not pray alone. She raced to the highest tower and called for help, her voice ringing out across the quiet landscape as Bluebeard's patience wore thin and his anger began to build. A new sound echoed through the castle halls, the thunder of approaching footsteps. Help had arrived. The forbidden door was thrown open for all to see, and the terrible truth was revealed. Bluebeard's power, built on secrets and fear, vanished the moment his darkness was brought into the light. The castle, once suffocated by a fearful silence, was finally free. The young woman survived it because she was obedient, but because she was brave enough to question, to seek the truth, no matter how terrifying. And the tale of Bluebeard was passed down through generations, not just as a scary story, but as a vital warning. Secrets thrive in silence. Curiosity, when guided by courage, can save lives. And the truest danger often hides behind the most polite words and the most securely closed doors. Not every monster roars, some of them whisper. Thank you for watching. If this story made you think, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more tales from the shadows.